But Showtime made it official. Yes, Jake Paul is going to box Anderson Silva. The opening odds on DraftKings, for example, this morning had Anderson Silva at a minus 135, Jake Paul at a plus 105. Let me give you the details, if I may, very quickly. This, of course, will be at October 29th, Showtime pay-per-view in Phoenix, Arizona at the Gila River Arena, I believe is the name of the place. It's an 8-round boxing contest with a catch weight at 187. Now, I don't remember the last time that Silva was at 185, although this will be, he'll have a little bit of an allowance relative to that. But those are your basic details. BC, I gave them all to you. Your takeaway from this information is what?
This fight is the right one at the right time. It's going to be commercially big. I think it's harder than people on the boxing side of the audience are realizing, given the age of Anderson. And the odds
what are folks on the boxing side of things saying, from what you can tell?
Yeah, here's what I found in the short period that this fight became real. And, you talk to people, media, fans, network people, everybody behind the scenes. Luke, every single MMA person has kind of taken our side of it and saying, look, we think it could be a close fight for sure. It's going to be entertaining, but dude, Anderson could not only give him troubles, he could finish him here. Everybody I've talked to on the boxing side across the board, and it could just be not knowing or ignorance to, what Anderson's done so far in boxing, or maybe they've seen it, but they just look over it. I mean, people in boxing do think Chavez Jr. is just a, broken, busted product. But Luke, they believe that this is, almost like, why are we doing this? This will be something where Jake will get the win against an old guy, but not get the critical respect. I think the absolute opposite, because I think if Jake is going to win this fight, it's going to have to be in a fight, in like a war, and where he has a big moment, because you and I both think this is a very tough fight for Jake. So I give Jake Paul a ton of respect for booking it. You see he's finally getting, Dana White to even talk about it and sort of begrudgingly give him back some of that respect, knowing that this is a real challenge. 8 rounds, as you said, at 187. This is It's put up or shut up, as I said before about this fight for Jake, and I think it's the time for it, and I think people are sleeping a bit more on the boxing side, that while would we have preferred Rockman Jr., would that have been the right fight here? Probably, because Rockman Jr. had enough questions where we're not sure if that was going to be what it was sold in terms of like a really hard test. I think we know, or at least can guess here, that this will be. So this has the perfect mix of commercial and critical potential here for Jake. It's the right fight at the right time. And we don't know, Luke. I favor Anderson here, but we don't know. And that's a good spot to be in, because I think in this crossover celebrity old guys coming back window the last few years, from Triller to, whoever, outside of Mike Tyson looking really good that one night against Roy Jones, like, these are the two best. These are the guys that have committed, it seems, the most of their attention and effort to really being good in this space. In a weird way, it's sort of, finding out who's the best right now in this window. And there's star power attached, not just because you and I are going to be flying to LA this weekend for the press conference, Luke, but I'm really interested. I'm really fired up for this one because, this isn't Tyron Woodley coming up 2 weight classes. We do have to remember that. And if you've seen enough lately of Anderson with the hands, dude, there's still something there. There's definitely still a lot to work with there.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I think if there's anyone in the boxing world that thinks that this is sort of, Jake Paul can get this done with relatively easily, or, sort of a reasonably confident pick that he can win, I think you're about to be very surprised. I think you're in for a rude awakening. I will acknowledge... You'll be surprised, Yeah, well, here's what I'm saying. I will acknowledge that because Anderson is 47 and we don't exactly know how good he is, either at this stage of his athletic career at all, and certainly not in boxing, that there is some uncertainty here, and I understand and respect that. I do think it is winnable for Jake Paul, but I would definitely favor Anderson Silva to win. I think this is far and away different than anything he experienced with Tyron Woodley. I don't know exactly what the best reason is to explain why Anderson has looked so good since leaving the UFC, where he did not look all that great in his final sort of MMA run, that last chapter.
I'll explain it. You ready?
What is it?
There's two reasons. One could be performance-enhancing drugs, and in this era, we'd be stupid if we didn't at least throw that out there, right? Obviously.
And by the way, he was busted previously. Let's just for folks to remember that.
And by the way, all of our heroes have probably most likely touched it.
I don't give a shit. I'm just saying.
But anyone holding out like I was for years, you got to just wake up to that fact. But 2, Luke, this is not the same level as elite UFC. And oh, by the way, dude, Anderson Silva wasn't getting knocked cold. Like, we didn't have to drag him out, unfortunately, like we did Chuck Liddell in his, when he turned 40. This was a guy whose body kind of fell, broke his heart a couple times, and a very elite fights in which he had to be at such a high level. But look, what are we, 3.5 years maybe removed from him going in there against Adesanya and not only not getting embarrassed like we feared, Luke, he kind of had some moments. And I know you can always argue in hindsight, was Adesanya as, violent as he could have been? Was he showing too much respect? I think that version of Anderson Silva at 44 went all in that night, just like I think he will in this one. He's actually not that far removed from that. He hasn't taken on huge damage. His footwork for boxing is actually pretty good. He's got more fight experience. He's probably longer. He's can hit hard. I mean, I just think people are thinking, like when 47-year-old Tito Ortiz walked in there and the first punch he took from Anderson, more or less, he was gone. This ain't that guy. I think the best case scenario here, Luke, is that these two have a evenly competitive, action, fun, entertaining fight, regardless of who gets their hand raised, where you kind of want to see it again. You know what I mean? Like, this is actually on paper seems to be even matchmaking. And maybe Tyron Woodley was also for Jake, and credit to Jake for finishing the second fight spectacularly. But Jake also got hurt in that first fight, and that second fight wasn't overly screaming that you would want to see them again. I think this matchup is destined to be dramatic and fun, that you're going to want to see it again. So kudos to everybody, dude. And we know, Silva Luke, this is not UFC elite level. It really comes down to, what do you actually think where Jake Paul's at right now? Mm-hmm. Could he beat a 10-0 pro boxer who has good intentions? I don't know, but
yeah, I don't think he could. I got to tell you, I have a lot of respect for Jake Paul for taking this fight, because I think it's winnable, but very difficult. And I'd also put on the table, for folks who are in denial about this, from whatever vantage point you want to look at it from, dude, Jake Paul getting stretched is on the table here. Not in a puncher's chance kind of way, in a much greater sense than that. I don't know if that's the likeliest outcome. In fact, I would probably not say that. But it is certainly on the table here, because here's my view of what's going to happen, BC. I actually think it'll be close for the first 2, maybe 3 rounds, where Jake will be careful, sitting behind his jab. He does have big power. He is much younger. He should be in good shape, since it's going to be relatively close to his walking around weight. He'll have to be a little bit trimmer, but not by too much. He should be fine, right? So I think it's going to be close early, but I think over time, the difference in overall skill is going to show up. I don't think that 47 number next to Anderson reflects his present athletic ability. And once those openings start presenting themselves, I think it could get very bad for Jake Paul. We'll have to see how much improvement he has made.
Right.
But I want to stress this very clearly. Anderson Silva is not only favored to win. Anyone who is looking at this broadcast should remember this. It is very likely he will win, beyond whatever the odds say. For Jake Paul to win this, to me, would be a genuine surprise. Possible, but a surprise.
I mean, I'm going to favor Anderson. I do think it's going to be competitive, though. And look, Jake's younger. He's going to have to commit to volume in ways that he hasn't before. The jab's got to be a huge weapon. Look, there's things that he's going to have to do to level up. He's young enough to do that. But look, the fact that we're throwing out these scenarios here, we got to be excited about this, Luke. It's going to be in Phoenix, as you mentioned. I like Arizona, Luke. I vacationed there as a kid. It doesn't feel as outlaw as New Mexico and Texas. I'm sure it actually is, Luke, but it's
the state's got some crazies in it. But my uncle lives there. One of my dad's brothers, who I've not seen in some time, so I'll get the chance to go see him. I'm pretty excited about that.
This will be great.